Hey, welcome to Seller Seminars. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. We've designed these simply because you can kind of go in and out of them or replay them as you like. That way you don't have to sign up for something, worry about not showing up, worry about something coming up. This way you can just look at whatever you want to, whenever you want to, as far as all the information from Tanner Realty Group. Whatever else you look at, well, that's between you and your internet browser. Just kidding. Hey, we're going to go ahead and get going here. We're welcome to the 9.5 things you need to know when selling your house. These are ever changing a little bit simply because we are in an ever changing market right now. You guys watch the news just like I do, for better, for worse. And we have interest rate challenges. We have longer days on market. We have a lot of things going on right now that are causing the market to shift in a very rapid as well as dramatic way. The days of putting a house up and being gone in hours, unless you really undercut the pricing that it's supposed to be at, are probably gone. So we'll talk through some of this stuff about how to get pricing accurate and some of the things contractually you need to know as well. So let's dive right into the 9.5 things you need to know as a seller. The first part of this really is pricing. We use something called the Total Market Overview Report. If you want a copy of this, please feel free to message us, let us know. You can even put that in the chat. I've got Austin moderating for me today. And so you can put in the chat if you want a copy of the Total Market Overview Report. It breaks down prices. It breaks down days on market, number of active listings. It takes a snapshot of the last 6 months is really what it does. So you can have that available to you along with a digital market analysis if you would like one of those. But that really helps to price your property appropriately based on what's going on in the market. If you want a quick sale on your house, you got to price it pretty competitively. We all know, however, getting that pricing right in the market as of the middle of July 2022 is very, very different, even from a couple of months ago. So make sure you've got the most updated information when pricing your house. If it is priced too high right now, by the way, it's going to sit. We are just seeing houses, the number of sales are slowing, but the market is going to give some very, very clear feedback on if your home is priced too high. It's also going to give you some feedback if your home is priced too low. What we've seen for the last couple of years is if it's priced too low, well, it kind of creates that feeding frenzy, which, you know what, is really fun on HGTV. In real life, not so fun, because going through 10, 12 offers on your house, you've got to sit through each one of those and hear the realtor explain every single term. And you just want to cut to the chase. You want to know what the best offer is for you to accept. So pricing it too low, not real fun. Pricing it just right, however, may for just a little bit on market and buy a little, maybe two. However, you're going to get a good, strong offer if it's priced correctly with a buyer that really means business, and that is what you want. Now let's dive into the listing contract. I found that a lot of people don't even know what a listing contract looks like, and if they do, their realtor said, hey, just sign this and we'll call it good. Never a good idea. You will never hear from Tanner Realty Group, hey, just sign this. What you will hear is, we want you to review this, we want you to know what's going on, and we want you to be educated on what a listing contract actually looks like. So we're going to buzz through that just real quickly. First of all, this is a state of Washington listing contract. It may be different in your state. I can't speak to all of them right now. I'm currently licensed in 3 states, Washington, Oregon, and Oklahoma, and the contracts in those individual states are all different. But today, we're just going to talk about the state of Washington. A lot of the concepts are very much similar. However, the details of the contract can vary slightly. So if you have a question about, say, Oklahoma or Oregon, make sure and reach out to me and let me know. I won't have time to do those in today's broadcast. However, if you have an individual question, please feel free to reach out. Let's talk about what agency means. Agency simply means who is representing who. At the end of the day, that's really what we're talking about. When you sign a listing contract with myself or another realtor, you are saying, okay, I want you to be my representative. And a lot of states right now are getting rid of what we call dual agency, where the listing agent can also represent the buyer. Because stop and think about that. In a dual agency type situation, who does the realtor really represent? You want them, if you're the seller, you want to know beyond a shadow of a doubt, hey, they're keeping my information private and they're working directly for me. As a buyer, you want that agent to only be representing you and not be trying to play both sides of the fence. Exclusive right to sell. This simply means you're only hiring one realtor. That's it. You're not hiring a bunch of realtors to sell your house. And then it's also got some dates and terms in there when the contract expires, when you go live on the market, if you want it to be a coming soon listing, if you want it excluded from the MLS. My personal opinion here, okay? You do what you want. It's your property. But my personal opinion is if you exclude it from the MLS, you are simply asking for trouble, because that's going to minimize your buyer pool, because the MLS is where all of the realtors go going on in the market and see houses in the market. So I think that's a big mistake. Again, that's just my opinion. You may have good reason for it in your situation. Number 3, list price. That's pretty obvious. How much the house is going on the market for. The next thing is the brokerage fee. In there, it breaks out the total brokerage fee, but then it talks about what the buyer agency commission actually is too. So it breaks out by percentage or number, if you want to, in there exactly who's getting paid what. Disbursement, number 6, talks about if there's some earnest money on the line, buyer typically will do in our area here in the state of Washington and in Oregon, standard is kind of 1% as far as earnest money goes. So it talks about who actually gets that money if the buyer violates the contract or breaches the contract for any reason, and the seller has a reason to go after. Number 7, insufficient proceeds. This really came about in the recession, 08 and 09. A lot of us remember that. Not a real fun time in the housing market or the financial market, but it talks about insufficient proceeds. If you have insufficient proceeds in your house, well, the people that are performing work on your behalf still need to get paid. Right to compensation. This one's a little tricky, and to be honest with you, if you want to talk about this offline, I'm happy to do that. But this basically states that if a buyer comes along while the house is under contract with a realtor, that realtor doesn't work out, you go to a different one. If that same buyer comes along, you may owe a commission to that initial realtor that you're no longer working with. I'm not a big fan of this one, but if you would like some clarity on that, please feel free to reach out. Number 9, services and authority. This is just another way to say, hey, your authority to sell the house on your behalf. Number 10, you authorize a lockbox to actually go on your house. That's a good thing. You want that because you don't want the realtor having to come over with a key every single time a showing occurs. You want realtors to be able to just get into the house after they make an appointment. Number 11, the internet. You give us permission to put your house on the internet. Believe it or not, I've actually had somebody say, Mike, I don't want my house on the internet. I think that's crazy. Listen, you are watching this online seminar on the internet. Where do you go to look for houses? On the internet. Our job as realtors is to get your house in front of as many people as possible. Well, we do that online. The old school ways of either a magazine or books or the listings from the old MLS listings, those are pretty much gone. And by the time things get to the magazines are great. I love looking through pictures too. However, that information is completely outdated. With the internet, I can actually update everything about your property all at the same time through multiple sites and get it out on, no joke, at least over 200 sites through some of the things we have access to. So you want your property on the internet. Indemnity, number 12. This basically states that, hey, if a buyer's going through the house and something accidentally gets knocked over, that the realtor is not responsible for that. So your valuables, make sure those things are locked up. Make sure that there's nothing in the house that, if you've got a priceless vase or vase, depending on how expensive it is, just kidding, you want to make sure that that's not out there for maybe Junior to run by and knock over and break. So just make sure all those things. Another thing too, if you happen to have firearms in your home, make sure those are in a safe or off property, because you don't want any liability for that on your property. Number 13, attorney's fees. If there's a problem between the buyer and the seller, the attorney's fees are on those individual people. You hire the realtor to do the transaction for you. You don't hire the realtor as an attorney. I know a lot about some real estate law, but you really want to have an attorney if there's a problem with your buyer or your seller if you are in the buying. Number 14, dispute resolution. The National Association of Realtors actually has a mediation process that realtors and their clients go through if there is a dispute. I've never had to do that, so I don't fully know what that looks like, but I can tell you I tend to avoid that as best I can. I want to make everything right, and our company wants to make everything right for you as the client. Now, this one's kind of crazy, but number 15, compliance with the law, simply states we are actually going to obey the law. I know, sounds a little nuts, but we're going to. Number 16, real property transfer disclosure statements. I have a copy of these here. These are very accessible online. If you ever want to know what they look like, please just let us know. Basically, these just are your best faith guess and knowledge about everything about the property. So it's questions like, hey, have you had water in the crawl space? Has the roof leaked in the last 5 years? Things that you as the homeowner really should know. If you don't know how to fill those out, we can't answer for you, but we can certainly clarify some questions and show you how to get that information so you can answer correctly. Number 17, required detectors in the house. Smoke alarms, obviously, and carbon monoxide detectors. If you don't have the combo smoke detectors, carbon monoxide, you can pick up some of the little plug-ins at Home Depot for pretty inexpensive. And so those are very, very easy. They need to be at least one on each floor, and they need to be 15 feet within each bedroom. So if those go off in the middle of the night, everybody hears them and can get out just like a smoke alarm. Number 18, seller's representations and warranties. Basically means we're not putting a warranty on the property. You're not guaranteeing it in any way, shape, or form. However, you are telling the buyer everything that you possibly, making that best faith effort to be as honest as possible. Number 19, FIRPTA. Basically, it says, okay, are you a foreign investor? That's fine if you are, but I just want to make sure for tax purposes that we've got that recorded in there. No distressed home conveyance, number 20. Again, this came up during the recession. A distressed home is when a house was underwater financially. We want to make sure that there's enough there to take care of everything, or you need to be talking to your bank about the foreclosure possibility. Number 21, additional provisions. Sometimes there's something in there that is unique, but 9 times out of 10, we just kind of cross that off. Number 22, modifications. Please don't make any modifications for your house when we list it for sale. Actually did have a guy that was trying to knock out a wall one time because he thought the buyers might like it better. It's like, no, dude, you got to put that back the way it was. And so when the buyers buy something, it needs to be in the exact same condition. So don't make any major modifications on your home. And that's really about it as far as the contract goes. The rest of it is just all broker information, seller information on this sheet, so we know how to contact you, best email addresses. We do everything through DocuSign, so you can kind of know what's going on there. Another thing you need to be aware of is photography. When we come into your house, when we start the listing process, we want to make sure that we get the best photos possible. That means it is not me or a member of my team with our iPhone. I love my iPhone as much as the next person, but we hire professional photographers to come in and take the best pictures of your house in the best light. because there's a lot of really cool things that photographers can do that you can't do on an iPhone. They use the professional editing software to get a true representation, an accurate representation of what your property actually looks like, not just, hey, the lighting's off. Video. You need video on your house. You simply do. To give people the best a video walkthrough is key. Now, sometimes investment properties, you don't want to do that, but the majority of the time, you want to make sure that people are seeing that house in the best light possible, the most accurate light possible, and a video walkthrough is a great way to do that. If you haven't seen what that looks like, check out our Facebook page, Tanner Realty Group, and you'll see some of our listing videos on there. Not only do we do walkthroughs, we also do drone shots of around the neighborhood, so you can see how close parks are, you can see how close schools are, you can even see the condition of a roof with the drone shots. So it's kind of important to do that. The next thing that's really important is 3D tours. I love these because basically we can bring a tool into your home to take a through of the house. You've probably seen those online. In addition, a two-dimensional floor plan, just as if you were seeing it when you go to a builder. So kind of a neat thing to have. MLS representation. This is very, very important because, again, like we talked about earlier, this is where all of the realtors go to look to see what's on market. And if you, as the seller, don't want to do a for sale by owner and have all of the realtors calling you, MLS representation is really, really important because we give that to you and we negotiate with other realtors on your behalf. Digital marketing. Now, if you're watching this, our digital marketing has worked. Whether you're seeing it on a replay or you're seeing it live, that means you're aware of Tanner Realty Group in some way, shape, or form. Guess what? Our listings get the exact same treatment. We advertise for that. We pay to advertise for our listings because we want to make sure they get the best representation possible and they get the widest audience possible. That's really, really important because unfortunately, some realtors will just share it to their family and friends. And hey, it's great. Listen, my mom likes all my stuff. She's probably watching right now. However, my mom's not going to buy your house, okay? So you want to make sure and get it out to as many people as possible, not just the realtor's family and friends. Number 8, you need transaction coordination. I do really good with paperwork. However, we have a director of operations that kills it with paperwork. He's incredibly detail oriented, knows what he's doing, and he manages the transaction from contract to closing and keeps everybody informed with all parties. It's kind of a difficult job, to be honest with you, and he does a remarkable job with it. So that transaction coordination is really, really important. Now, what turns off potential buyers? This is number 9 in the 9.5 things you need to know. What turns off potential buyers? What do they hate? When they walk into a house, what do they just go, hey, you know what, I'm going to walk out? Well, I'll tell you what it is. Number 1, overly personal items. I will tell you a ton of very inappropriate stories, if you like, about walking into houses and seeing overly personal items. Now, sometimes people don't like their kids' picture shown to other people that are maybe coming through the house. That's one thing. There's a whole host of other things, but don't make it overly personal. Please make it as neutral as possible when you walk into your home. And if you want some feedback on that, we're happy to provide that. Things that can be taken offensively one way or another. Listen, right, wrong, or indifferent, we live in a very politically charged society these days, particularly in certain areas of the country. So if you are a huge fan of maybe some left-wing ideas, I don't care about your political views. I just want to sell your house, okay? So, but the people that want to buy that house, they may not have your same political views. So go ahead and kind of depoliticize your house if you're on the left side. If you're on the right side, and if you're far right and you've got maybe, I don't know, firearm stuff everywhere. Listen, again, I don't care about your political views, okay? I'm here to help you one way or the other. But a left-leaning person is going to see those firearm decorations and go, holy smokes, I can't live here. This person's crazy. So depoliticize your house as much as you possibly can. For a complete guide, we actually have something called a sellability scale. Go to our blog at tannerrealtygroup.com and check out our sellability scale. You can actually give your house a grade and walk through step by step to see if your house is ready to go on market. I would really encourage you to do that. Now, finally, the point 5. We've been through 9 things. What's the point 5? What is the one thing that you absolutely have to do in order to sell your house, no matter the price point, no matter the location, doesn't matter if anything, okay? What is the one single thing you have to do to give your house the best chance of being sold? Are you ready? Clean it. Hire some professional cleaners to come in and make the house sparkle. I don't care if it's a $125,000 place in the middle of downtown Portland, okay? Or if it's a $10 million place with a grand estate. If somebody walks in and it smells funky, they're going to turn right around and walk out. Hire a cleaner. You know, the old school thing about, hey, fresh baked cookies is what you want to smell when you come into a house. No way. Number one, there's a ton of gluten intolerant people. Number two, my cynical mind goes to, what are they trying to cover up in here? So what I would recommend is have a cleaning service come in. We've got some great ones that we can refer you to, and clean your place like crazy. When I come into a house, I want to smell Pine Sol. I want to smell cleaner. I want to make sure that that house is immaculate when I go in. Now, not that I'm going to take off my shoes, but if I wanted to, I could take off my shoes and not worry about my feet sticking to the floor, right? I mean, it's kind of gross, really, if you think about it. So just make sure that that house is nice and clean. Hey, thank you so much for coming to our seminar about the 9.5 things you as a seller need to know. If you want to replay this, please feel free to do so. If you want some more information, go ahead and reach out. It is in all of the bios where you're currently seeing this streamed. So please feel free to reach out. I'm Mike Tanner with Tanner Realty Group. Have a great day. Thanks so much for coming by.